We will quickly run through the beginning, a few passages, few sentences from the beginning again. Fourth time, fourth time today, but perhaps even then we will not be able to finish it, you see. But there are so many nuances, so many details, so much packed, and it is kind of good to recollect all the connections which are present in this thing. I will say this, that in the December dawn is of course the most difficult canto, quite a kind of impenetrable, and unless you have some sort of occult yogic knowledge of things, it is impossible to make any sense of this canto. And it is that occult yogic aspect which we are trying to understand in our own mental way with the hints, suggestions, details given by the mother, by Shrivenu himself in various parts of Savitri. These details are available in different manner in different parts of Savitri itself. So it is our effort we should go in collecting all those things and try to see those occult yogic aspects which are present in this canto. Now out of this again I will say that perhaps the most difficult part, impenetrable part, are the first dozen sentences of the Simmer Dawn. A dozen sentences of the Simmer Dawn. First 12 sentences, 12 to 15 sentences, means about 50-60 lines of the opening canto. If you are able to go through them and get some kind of a picture, then the story, the narrative moves more or less smoothly. You can move more rapidly. So it is that which we are trying to really grasp as much as possible in certain details which are accessible to us, which we can discern from various sources and things like that, you see. Now, it was the hour before the gods awake. Well, we are seeing this line any number of times, and we'll be keep on saying this any number of times. And the second sentence, across the path of divine event, the huge hovering mind of night. In these two sentences, he has introduced three aspects immediately. One aspect is the gods awakening, before the gods awake. The second aspect is the divine event. The third aspect is mind of night. Now, if you are able to grasp the sense of these phrases, then something can emerge as a picture in our mind. And then we can move forward, you see. That is what we are trying to understand, you see. Now again, in the very first line itself, it begins with it was. Now the it pronoun is what is called an empty pronoun. It is empty. Or you can say, empty means there is no specific noun connected with that. It is something like this. It is Deshpande who talks too much than Toby. Now that it is that it is an empty pronoun. It doesn't mean anything. It is something like the children, it is time to go to bed. It is time to go to bed. It is time. That it is means nothing.
You mean it doesn't speak at all?
Children, it is time to go to bed, you see. Yeah. That it doesn't really mean much. It is, that is what is called an empty pronoun, you see. You see. It is our, you see, it means that. But at the same time, it was the our, that it is basically emphasizing the our. At the same time, it is emphasizing the our. It was. So, as I told you, it is like narrating a story, once upon a time, etc., that kind of a thing. That is how it begins, you see. So, it is basically the narration of a tale. It was the hour, it is basically the narration of a tale. What is the tale? the tale of Savitri, the tale of this creation, the tale of the possibility of this creation changing into its divine status. It is that tale which is going to follow in this particular thing. Therefore, the divine possibility in that context, then the gods have to awake, then the mind of night is coming as an obstacle, the divine event has to move forward, all those things automatically get connected, you see. The rest is saying, across the paths of divine event, a huge forwarding mind of night, alone in the unlit temple of eternity. See, he says, temple of eternity. That night is standing in the temple of eternity. It is really the temple built by Brahma himself for a certain purpose. He has built the temple for night and she is there, and it also means that this night, being the goddess of the temple, she is worshipped. Otherwise, there is no point in having a temple there, you see. She is worshipped by the entities who are present there for fulfilling a certain purpose, you see. Now, that is how you see at this point, mind of night, temple of eternity, unlit, etc., etc. Well, there is no lamp, there is no candle, all that thing you can see. There is no sun there, you see. And then we have seen what is the mind of night. Mind of night, if you take as a technical phrase in the language of Shivendru's terminology, phraseology, we will interpret it, I will interpret it as the mind of the physical's very mind, which is receiving all the powers and potentialities and strength or whatever you want to call them from the night. That is the mind. The physical's mind dominated by the night. That is what. So basically, therefore, the mind of night is coming as an obstacle, means it is the very physical which is not able to open to the divine light, which is coming in the path of the divine event's progress. You see, that is what it means. What is divine event? Obviously, it is meant towards evolution. Now, the divine event also connotes the sense of evolution. Across the path of divine, sense of evolution, that things have to move forward. Why sense of evolution? Before the gods awake, there was involution. The powers, the 4 powers in the mother's language, they separated from their origin and became their opposite. And that is the involution. Or in other words, Brahma, the creator, in his tapas, he concentrated himself so much within himself, in gathered tapas, concentrate, focus, withdraw, so much that he completely forgot that there was anything outside. He forgot that there was anything outside. That is zero. It does not mean that he is absent. He is there, but totally unaware of anything else. Unaware, and that unawareness is what you would call the inconscience. You see, he is unaware. You see, now it is out of that unawareness now things have to sort of gather sense and move forward evolution. So the first sentence tells you something of the involution. The second starts telling you something of the process of evolution now. Now it also says that the evolution has progressed sufficiently, but in order to make further progress, there is something coming in the way, and that is the mind of night. You see. That is the mind of night. You see. Lay stretched immobile upon silence, almost one-felt, opaque, impenetrable, in the somber symbol of her eyeless muse. Now that her, I told you, although mind of night is a composite phrase, And normally you would use the pronoun as it. But the emphasis is not on the mind aspect of night, but night proper as a full person. And therefore her, she. That her is for night alone, you see. In the somber symbol of her eyeless muse, she is blind, yet she is contemplating, yes, I am now trapped in this total zero, in this absolute nothingness. What do I do? And in that contemplation, in that musing, in that brooding, so to say, she sees that there is a kind of a symbol, somber symbol. What is the symbol? The symbol of the possibility that something can come out of this zero. Something that can come out of this zero. Somber symbol. No, what is actually here? The subject is symbol. Here. The abysm, then she sees in the unbodied infinite, in that zero, in the total unawareness of Brahma, she sees a symbol which is dark. She sees in that symbol, dark, a fathomless zero occupied the world. That this zero is there, it is fathomless because it is Brahma himself who has become that zero. And therefore, its potentialities, its possibilities, its contents cannot be really gauged. Cannot be really gauged, you see. So this what is that symbol? She sees the symbol now, look, okay, the divine event has to move forward, the evolution has to move forward. That is what she is seeing already in that symbol. So it is the symbol which is now really coming into operation. A fathomless zero occupied the world. Now you see again, see here, you have unembodied infinite, you have zero, then you have nothingness. All of them are equivalent. They are basically the same thing here. The first and the last nothingness. Here, this unbodied infinite is the last nothingness. The fathomless zero is the last nothingness. Between the first and the last, as I told you, the first nothingness is the total, absolute non-manifest. The non-manifest supreme. Not even Brahma, but beyond him, the unknowable, as you would call it. He is the first nothingness. What is it? Last nothingness? Last nothingness, that infinite who has left his body has become unbodied, has become zero here. Now because he is unbodied here, he has to acquire body. He has to acquire a body, and that is the whole problem here. This infinite has to acquire a body, the physical, you see. And that is how it has to unfold as we shall move forward, you see. So a fathomless zero occupied the world. Obviously, the whole creation is now nothing but that zero, you see. World does not mean this one, but the entire creation as it is at that moment of time, you see. Now again, unbodied infinite, zero, nothingness, fallen boundless self, they are equivalent. They are basically the same thing. Fallen, boundless, unbodied, infinite, fathomless, zero, first and last nothingness, they are basically the same, but with different contents and different role to play in the scheme of things. Otherwise, basically, they are the same thing. Between the first and the last nothingness, the abysm, the embodied infinite. Now, who is seeing this? The eyeless muse, that brooding of night without any vision, without any sight, she is seeing what? She sees between the first and the last nothingness something happening. What does she say? Recalling, she recalls. It is, now well, I am using the word she for the night, but she also I am using at times for this power. Although here power is it. Power is it in the particular passage. And in fact, not only this power, but also one more term, ignorant force. Both of them are used as it in the context of this particular description here. But basically, I will say, essentially, I will say they are she. executive powers, you see. You see.